Fellow cardboarders, welcome back! Have you ever built a commander deck that you liked so much that you actually built it twice? This is my Breeches and Malcolm Pauper Pirates deck, and here's another installment of Think outside the deck box. By the way, if you don't believe me, here's the second version of the deck, which is for my uncle, who I've built it for originally. He will get the deck, but I play tested it and I liked it so much that I had to build it again. This one is even more focused, a little stronger version than the one I'm building for my uncle, just because I didn't have all the duplicates, but they're very similar. Now, before we start into the deck, a quick reminder that we have a commander vote going currently. If you want me to build a Esper Traps deck, continue voting for that one. But if you want to see me build any other decks, also give them a vote. And I will probably create the deck in around 2 weeks, since I will be off on holidays for the next couple of days. But now on to the deck tech. First of all, let's look at the commanders. We have Breeches here, Brazen Plunderer for 3 and a red. He's a 3/3 with Menace, Goblin, Pirate, and whenever one or more pirates I control deal damage to an opponent in any way that's important, I exile the top card of those opponents' libraries, and I can play those cards this turn and use any mana that I want in any color. And it has Partner, and then we have Malcolm here, Keen-Eyed Navigator. And whenever one or more pirates, again, deal damage to an opponent, I create a treasure token for each of those opponents who has been dealt damage. And, well, he has pirates too, has flying, and is a 2/2 for 2 and a blue. Now, these two partner very well with each other and make a quite strong Izzet commander deck. And as usual, I have made piles of different categories. So we have a pirate pile, a mana ramp pile, as well as a card draw pile, let's call it a Pew-pew pile, I didn't come up with a better name than Pirate Maker pile. You can let me know in the comments if you have a better idea. The removal pile and a tutor pile, and lastly the lands pile. So the idea for the deck is simple. You want to have some pirates that deal damage to your opponent, in the best case multiple times each turn, to get cards and treasures from them. So we have simple cards like a 1 mana 1/1 with flying, Cloud Pirate that can only block flying creatures, which we don't mind, but it's a 1/1 with evasion. Similarly, the Fanatical Firebrand is a 1/1 with haste and deals 1 damage when you sacrifice it to any target. And this one means with those two commanders out, we can actually get another trigger from both of our commanders, or we just haste attack first turn if we want to. Impulsive Pilferer. When it dies, it creates a treasure and has Encore. Very useful. Doesn't have evasion, but ramps me ahead a little, and that's what I'm all about. While the Encore ability gives me more of that guy later on. Trailblazer, just a 2 mana Menace Pirate, a 2/1, which has evasion and goes through most of the time. Another flying creature, as long as it's attacking, 2 mana, 2/1 Flying Pirate. And then we have the Talos, I think Explorer it's in English, and it has flying again. And when it enters the battlefield, you look at the cards of an opponent. Very useful and has evasion. So this is the first step of the deck. You have some pirates that continuously deal some damage, create some treasures, and exile cards from the top of the library, while, ramping you ahead. So that's why we're not playing that many ramp cards. We have some High Tide in here, we have 11 islands and some duels in here, so this can create a ton of mana. Very useful generally in Pauper. Lotus Petal, just to be 1 turn ahead to play our commanders. Simian Spirit Kite similarly. Thought Vessel, we actually have quite a full hand when we are exiling cards with Breeches. We keep our hand filled. And then we're playing Mind Stone as well. Next up, card draw. We're playing some top deck manipulation, important just to be able to look what is coming up and look at the combo pieces that we might want to draw. If we don't want to draw any of these cards, we can shuffle the library and draw a card during our opponent's upkeep. Similarly, Ponder, just draws a card right away. We have Preordain, also scries and draws a card, and the Serum Visions, which draws first and then scries. We are also playing Brainstorm, as well as Shadow Rift to be able to get our creatures through if the evasion does not suffice. And it also replaces itself. Great Cantrip, Gitaxian Probe, Cantrip again. Treasure Cruise, which is in Pauper most of the time a wonderful Ancestral Recall. For 1 mana you draw 3 cards. Gush, just to be able to draw even further into our deck. In the late game we can play it for free. Frantic Search just replaces itself, but also untaps 3 lands, so we can cast some stuff again. Ideas Unbound allows us to draw 3 cards, and then at the end of turn we discard 3 cards. And then we're playing an interesting card called Ophidian Eye, which has Flash, and whenever a creature deals damage to an opponent, we draw a card. So this is one of our important combo pieces. We're put to the side here. Similarly, the Tandem Lookout, which soul bonds to a creature, and both of these creatures have the same effect as Ophidian Eye, so whenever we deal damage, we draw a card. These are important, keep that in mind. And then we're playing 2 of the Lord of the Rings cycling cards. One of them has Island Cycling, the other one has Mountain Cycling. 90% of the time we're gonna use that. Maybe 10% of the time we're gonna draw the 3 cards if we're desperate. Now, onto the Pew-pew pile, which is the important combo pile, which is how the deck actually wants to win. We can also win with our opponent's cards through Breeches, but most of the time we want to try to win with this pile. So, first of all, we have the Unruly Catapult, and they're all quite similar. And this is because of redundancy, to be sure that we have one of these cards out at any point, to be able to combo off if we find the rest of the cards. So this one taps and deals 1 damage to each opponent. The idea is this: when you have one of these cards attached to it, we can draw a whole bunch of cards. So we tap it and we draw 3 cards because we have 3 opponents. This deck is a little weaker when you play 1-on-1, obviously, because you don't get 3 cards, but it's still powerful. In this case, if we are in a multiplayer game, we draw 3 cards and we untap it when we cast another instant or sorcery. But that's not all, because as you can see, it's not a pirate, but there is actually a pirate making pile, and that is very important. Keep that in mind. This one, for example, allows you to make any creature into any creature type you want it to be. So I'm gonna make this into a pirate and then trigger these as well. So we create 3 treasures and exile 3 cards from the top of our opponent's library. So that's going to be powerful. Let's look at the rest of the cards. We're playing this Erebor Flamesmith, which also, whenever I cast an instant or sorcery, and you've already seen we are drawing a whole bunch of cards, have a bunch of cantrips. There are also quite some removal cards in here. This one will deal 1 damage to each opponent again. Attached with Ophidian Eye, again draws 3 cards. Made into a pirate, we get 3 treasures and exile the top 3 cards. Thermo Alchemist, again, same idea as the Unruly Catapult. Guttersnipe, same idea, you get the idea. Here is to make it into a pirate, and each treasure will trigger it, dealing 1 damage to each opponent again. And, oh, oops. What? It's a pirate? It dealt damage. Let's create some more treasures. Oh, what? We created some treasures? Let's deal some damage. And you have an infinite combo, killing everyone at the table, creating infinite mana, and, well, exiling them infinitely. So that is quite brutal. Similarly, the Artillerist, it does the same. And the Firebrand Archer is one that lets us deal 1 damage whenever we cast a non-creature spell, so we have to put some work into it again. The Keswick Flame Breaver also. And then these 2 are a little weaker, but are also quite important, since we can get a whole bunch of value out of them if we turn them into pirates again. And if we have more opponents out, we actually make more mana by just continuing to cast more and more from the exiled cards and creating more and more treasure, and we can still go infinite with those 2 as well. So this is all for redundancy. Keep that in mind. We have a whole bunch of these in the deck. It's like 10 of these. Wow. Okay, we're playing also Freed from the Real. This one allows us for 1 mana to untap an enchanted creature. With infinite treasures, we can actually deal infinite damage again with these tap creatures if we want to. This is why the horseshoe crab is also in here, which untaps itself. We actually can give this one an enchantment that lets it deal damage, and then it can untap itself and deal more damage when we have turned it into a pirate. Oh, right, so this one actually combos right away with it and even is mentioned in the flavor text, which I really like. So we attach this to the horseshoe crab, turn it into a pirate with any of these pirate turner cards, and then we go pew-pew and crazy. Exile all the cards, create all the treasures, and go bonkers. Similarly, Viridian Longbow also deals 1 damage, gives one of our fake pirates a pew-pew bow. We have the psionic gift that also lets your octopi pirates, I don't know, give it a staff, burn through books. I don't know what the art means, but sure. And the Quicksilver Dagger is actually the strongest version, which also lets you draw a card when it deals damage. So more value even when dealing damage. Now, let's look at the Make Them Pirates cards. Not very catchy, but I didn't come up with any other name. Trickery Charm, I already mentioned, turns a creature into a pirate for 1 turn. Wings also does the same. It gives it all creature types, which makes it also a pirate. We're playing a whole bunch of fake pirates as you've seen, so these cards are important combo pieces. This actually turns 2 of our creatures into pirates. It's most of the time enough to turn just 1 creature into a pirate, so the second one is just bonus. Image Crafter taps and turns a creature into a pirate. The Changeling also gives a creature Changeling, so they have all creature types and are also pirates. And you have 2 more. The Axe also gives a creature all the creature types, and the Stalactite as well. So best case scenario will be you have one of these damage dealers and or a creature that lets you deal damage for tap, and then you give it all the creature types and start shooting. You have something to be able to untap them or continuously deal damage. Most of them can continuously deal damage. If they can't, you have those untappers that also lets you untap creatures. You create infinite amount of treasures, exile an infinite amount of cards, and win the game. But we can also do some more fun stuff while we can't find our winning combo pieces, or for the beginning of the game we can actually bounce creatures when we deal damage. So the idea is to, for example, enchant the Erebor Flamesmith, cast an instant or sorcery, and then we bounce 1 creature from each player back to their hand, just for 1 instant. So that is quite powerful, and well, at some point has to be removed because they can't play their commander or their strongest creatures if we're able to ping like once or twice or even more per turn. Arcane Denial, we will play a whole bunch of counters just to be sure to get our combos through, so bear with me. Arcane Denial, counter spell, you can stop if you don't know any of these. Foil, Negate, Spell Pierce, Mana Leak. We're playing Snap just to be able to untap some more lands, get some free spell. We're playing Snap Back, also free spell because we can exile a blue card. And then I've noticed when I play against cards like Blind Obedience, where you don't have a removal in Pauper and not in blue or red. So you have to go back to cards like Into the Royal, which lets you bounce a non-land permanent back to their owner's hand. And if you pay even more, you can even draw a card if you need to. So to be able to deal with such cards, because these let you have all your treasures enter tapped and then you can't reuse them to go into some infinite combo shenanigans. So it's really important to get rid of those cards, otherwise the game will be quite grindy, so that's kind of a weakness. And then we're also playing Blink of an Eye, which is actually the same card besides the flavor text, I guess, in the art and name.
Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture. Intel has told us there are at least 7.
Okay, I already see one. Give them. Okay.
They're the same picture.
So there's that. And then we're playing Shenanigans, which is just a simple solid card to continuously be able to remove artifacts if they are in the way, and a board wipe called Fire Cannonade, which deals 2 damage to each non-pirate. Lastly, this I also put into the removal pile because it kind of removes their spell. If they target one of our creatures, we can protect them and give them hexproof. Now lastly, and I hope you enjoyed this video so far, we're gonna look at the tutors before we go into the land category, and there are some important lands, so stick around till the end. We're playing some transmute cards like Dizzy Spell, Muddle the Mixture, and the Drift of Phantasms, which all allow us to search for a card with different mana costs seen here. So these allow us to, you can go back to the video, to any point to see and look for any of these cards. So for 1 we could, for example, get the Stalactite, or for 2 the Axe, or for 2 a Flamesmith, or a Quicksilver Dagger for 3. So you can get any of these combo pieces at any given time with any of these spells to be able to go into the combo mode. Trinket Mage similarly also gives you an artifact for 1. You can get the Stalactite, there are some other cards that you can get with it, and the Merchant Scroll, which allows you to search for an instant card and put it back into your hand. Then we're playing a whole bunch of dual lands. The Thriving Isle, which is just beautiful. We're playing an actual dual land which has both types, but we can't really fetch for any type, but still. As well as the non-snow covered land. Then we're playing the Is It Boiler Works, which just is a solid inclusion when we're playing cards like Frantic Search, which also untaps lands, and we have that out, we actually get some more mana out. This one also triggers one of the cards that triggers with artifacts, like this one, so this can also be an enabler. We're also playing the 2 artifact lands here, which allow us to also trigger the artifact pingers. We're playing the Path of Ancestry since we're playing a bunch of pirates, as well as a command tower, 2 cycling lands if we're drawing too many lands, as well as a Mystic Sanctuary, which allows us to put our best instant or sorcery card, maybe even a combo card, back on top of our library to draw for later. And lastly, we're playing a whole bunch of islands, I think 11 and 7 mountains, and I just found this artwork so beautiful from Innistrad with the ship and the little lighthouse here. And this deck has actually won 6 out of 7 games in a casual pod, so yeah, out of the blue, I would say. It actually can win as fast as like turn 4 or 3 actually, if you get the combo pieces right away. It's not that hard actually, since we have such a high amount of redundancy in this deck. So give this deck a try, let me know in the comments below if you think I should have included the one or the other card in this deck. Obviously the non-popper variant would be even more powerful. Let us know in the comments below for some more secret tech card that you would include. Don't forget the commander vote in the community tab. Help this channel reach 1,000 subscribers by clicking this button here, and there's another fresh video waiting for you to be watched. See you there and have a beautiful day. Bye bye.